In this video, I'll show you how to play 5 beginner punk songs so you can get up and going playing punk guitar right away. The songs are all in standard, and here we go. Alright, so just a quick note on the equipment I'm using for this video. I'm using my Fender Twin Reverb 65 reissue amp, and I'm going to be using a Boss DS1 distortion pedal and sometimes an Ibanez TS9X tube screamer. I've got a link for all these products in the description, and if you buy them through the Amazon links, I get a small commission, which helps support the channel. And check out my beginner guitar course, which takes you from scratch all the way up to proficiency with a rock and roll kind of emphasis. So the first song is one of the first songs that the Misfits ever wrote. It's called Shh. All right, so we'll start off with the intro, which is very similar to the verse. And so we're going to play this intro part. And we're playing these 3-note power chords. I like to play them with my index finger rooted on the low E string. The first chord is going to be at the 5th fret, and my ring finger bridged across the A and D strings at the 7th fret. Now, some people have difficulty playing that, especially when you first start. Another way to play it is with your index finger rooted at the 5th fret of the low E and ring and pinky at the 7th fret of the A and D. Sounds exactly the same. Some people like to play it that way. I like to play it the other way. Whatever's more comfortable for you works. And so we're going to play this rhythm slowly. So back and forth, up and down strokes. And then we're going to just switch to another power type chord. And this time it's with our index finger rooted at the 5th fret of the A string and ring finger bridged across the 7th fret of the D and G string. So, and I like to use an upstroke, but whatever's comfortable for you. Then we're going to go back to that first chord. Then we're going to just take that same form of the chord and slide it down 2 frets, index finger rooted at the 3rd fret. So. And then we're going to move right back up to that first chord. And we're going to play it once, have a little bit of a pause, and then go back to the alternate strumming. So, all the way through slowly. And then for the verse, we're going to play the exact same chord pattern, except we're not going to switch from the low E to the A power chord. We're just going to play straight through on that low E. So. And then when we get to the chorus, we're going to switch up the rhythm a little bit. Same form of the chords though. So the chorus is going to go like this. And so we're going to play the chords in this rhythm slowly. And we're going to use this little muted accent in between the chords. So and to do those mutes, we're just going to lift our fingers off of the fretboard and just kind of hover them lightly on the strings so that it makes that sound instead of ringing through. So we're going to play like this. So we're basically moving index finger 5th fret, index finger 3rd fret, index finger 1st fret, back to 3rd fret. So. And then we're just going to end on that first chord, the A. And then it goes back into the verse rhythm. So again, all the way through that chorus slowly. All right, so the next song we're going to do is Garbage Man by the Cramps, and it goes like this. So we're going to start off playing this rhythm. And it sounds a little complicated, maybe a little tricky rhythm, but if you kind of break it down and think of it in a certain way, it can be very easy to kind of pick up quickly. So we're going to play open on the low E twice, and then we're going to play 3rd fret on the low E twice. So, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's going to be a little pause, so. And then we're going to play open to 3rd fret again, and then the same beginning pattern, open, open, 3rd, 3rd. So slowly. So the only thing we have to think about through that entire intro is we're going to play open and 3rd fret. We're going to do that open, open, 3rd, 3rd pattern 3 times, 2 in the beginning, 1 at the end. We're going to have a little pause where we just do open 3rd right in the middle. So. And it basically repeats like that throughout the song. And then in the kind of bridge part, there's going to be just a big open E chord. So, and so that basically, to play that chord, you're going to leave open on the low E. You're going to have your middle finger and ring finger at the 2nd fret of the A and D string. And that's the power chord version. And then we're just going to add our index finger to the 1st fret of the G string. And then open on the B and E string. And just play a big open chord. Now you're going to have to hook your fingers up and around a little bit so that you don't hit those high strings. And this takes a little work to get used to, but really one of your first steps as a beginner guitar player is to learn the cowboy chords or the major open chords, and E is probably one of the first ones you can learn. So again, slowly. All right, so the next song we're going to do is Nervous Breakdown by Black Flag, and it goes like this. All right, so we're going to use those same power chords that we used with the Misfits song. And it's going to be a little faster rhythm this time, but nothing too overwhelming. And just note that Greg Ginn, when he plays this on the record, is actually playing a major bar chord on the bottom 4 strings on the whenever there's a chord rooted on the low E string. But to keep it simple, we're just going to use the power chord form. So again, you can play it with your ring finger bridged, or you can play with your ring and pinky, whatever's more comfortable for you. So we're going to start with a power chord rooted at the 7th fret of the low E, a B. And then we're going to go back and forth basically with the same form of the chord, just rooted at the 7th fret of the A. So we're going to do that at the 7th fret, then we're going to slide down to the 5th fret and do the same thing. So and so it does that several times. And then there's this bridge part chorus that goes. So again, same form of the chords. We're going to stick with all chords rooted at the low E string. So starting at the 3rd fret, up to the 5th fret, up to the 7th fret. So. And then we're going to quickly slide back down. So. And then we're going to do this little accent part where we just lift our index finger off the low E. So. And then it repeats. So all the way through, both parts slowly. All right, so for the next song, we're going to do Smash It Up by The Damned, and this one's going to use some major bar chords, so it gets a little tricky if you're just new to guitar, but I'll show you a way to kind of make it a little easier on yourself. So it goes like this. So that's a little bit of a simplified version of what they play. The main difference that I'm showing you is on the original, they play instead of just riding that last chord. So you can choose to play it however you want. You can end it like this or end it like this if you feel comfortable playing that. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to show you the simplified way. So we're going to start off with a G major chord. And the way you can tell it's a G major chord is by the root note. And so the root note's the 3rd fret of the low E string. And so we've got open is E, 1st fret is F, 2nd fret is F sharp, and 3rd fret is G. So when we're playing these major bar chords, our index finger is going to indicate the chord that it is on the low E. So G, A, B, E, because it's open. So back to the song, we're going to play a G major bar chord, index finger bridged all the way across all 6 strings at the 3rd fret. We've got our ring and pinky finger at the 5th fret of the A and D string, and our middle finger at the 4th fret of the G string. And we're going to strum all those strings. And so these can be difficult for new guitar players. So if you want to play the abbreviated version, you can just put your index finger at the 3rd fret of the low E, and the rest of the chord is the same. And we're just going to not play the high B and E strings, because sometimes it's difficult to bridge our finger across that. So we're just going to play like this. So that's a workaround you can use until you're comfortable playing the full major bar chord. So we're going to start with a G, and then we're going to go down to an F. So, and we're going to use that muted chord that we used before. So I like to use up and down strokes for this too. It makes keeping the rhythm a little easier. So we're going to go 3rd fret to 1st fret. Then we're going to go 5th fret to 1st fret with the same rhythm. So then we're just going to repeat that again, 5th to 1st. So slowly. Then we're just going to go back to the 1st chord, the G, and just ride that out. So again, slowly. And pay attention to your strumming on that. With the up and down strokes, it makes it a lot more fluid and it's easier to play it. I know a lot of beginner guitar players struggle with the up and down strokes, but it's something that you should try and learn as quickly as possible to make your life a lot easier. So, one more time. All right, so the last song we're going to cover is the Ramones' Blitzkrieg Bop. Pretty much the song that started it all. A lot of people think that this song is easy to play, and it can be if you are good with your major bar chords and power chords and down strums. But the way to play it properly, it can be very difficult, especially for beginner guitar players. So I'm going to show you the proper way to play it, and it goes like this. So as you can probably see, I'm playing all downstrokes. So at that pace, and especially with the way the Ramones played it faster live, it can be very difficult to do all those downstrokes. Some tips I have for you is to play standing up. It tends to put your hand in the right position to play those downstrokes. I also like to loosen up my hand. If you're kind of trying to grip your pick real tight, you're going to have a hard time playing those downstrokes. And I like to let my fingers kind of flail on that. I don't know what it is, but it feels like maybe there's like a little bit more momentum with my fingers going. Normally, I don't like to play with my fingers flailing, and they can get in the way. But when I'm doing those downstrokes in that like kind of aggressive punk style, I kind of like to do that. So we are going to start off with a major bar chord. And Johnny Ramone's probably going to be playing the bottom 5 strings, so maybe omitting the high E, but he might occasionally hit the high E. For the most part, he's playing that whole bar chord, and he's playing it with all downstrokes. So we're going to have our index finger at the 5th fret of the low E and the major bar chord, ring and pinky at the 7th fret of the A and D, and middle at the 6th fret of the G. So we're going to just play that straight time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to move to a major chord that looks just like the power chords that we played in the previous songs, except it's a little different this time. So we're going to have index finger at the 5th fret of the A, and we're going to bridge our ring finger across the 7th fret of the D, G, and B strings. And we're going to play those middle 4 strings. We're not going to play the high E, and we're not going to play the low E. And that can be very difficult, I know, to bridge your finger across all those. So if you can play it kind of the way a full major chord is played, with your middle ring and pinky across the 7th fret of the D, G, and B strings. But that can be also very difficult. So what I recommend is when you're first starting off, maybe just play the A, D, and G strings, the power chord version, and then work it so that eventually you get your ring finger so that you can bridge across that B string as well. So we're going to play. And then we're going to move up 2 frets, index finger root at the 7th fret of the A this time. And again, all downstroke. So. So we repeat that 4 times, and then we're going to do this kind of little bridge part that goes. And so I like to play it, again, major bar chord, root at the 5th fret of the low E, and then ring finger bridge, then back to the first chord. If you watch Johnny Ramone play live, he plays it like that, and then he switches his fingers like that. And in some songs, he'll even hit the inverted root here, which is playing like that, the 5th fret of the low E. But he keeps his fingers pretty much in the same spot, so he doesn't have to move as much. For this song, though, he's not hitting that low E, so I don't like to keep my fingers in the same spot because sometimes I will hit that low E, which sounds off. So all the way through slowly. And one other little trick you can do is when you're playing the chords that are rooted on the A string, you can use the tip of your index finger to mute that low E so it doesn't ring out if you strike it with your pick by accident. So one more time slowly. So that's it for this one. I hope you like the lesson. If you appreciate this content, remember to like and subscribe. That way you're notified when I post new videos like these. And check out my beginner guitar course, which takes you from scratch all the way up to proficiency with a rock and roll kind of emphasis. And I'll see you guys next time.